All right, so we do not have a quorum right here. Is that correct? We got Mary. Let's do a quick,
Correct.
okay. Anthony Beach is out. Greg Gutman's here. Angie Marks is out. Shaka Mitchell's out. Charles Newsom, are you in the line? Okay, you're out. James Nurse. Mary Rogal's here. George Rumsey's out. And Nancy Stanek is out. Okay, so we do not have a quorum. So, Rod, how would you like us to vote? We don't want to wait a full month before you get approval to move forward with the contracts. Is there another meeting that we have to set up to get you approval, just for a meeting specifically?
Right. I believe the Open Meetings Act does not allow us to go forward. We can't do this like over email, that we have to have a meeting. So
Email
I can
works for me.
Right. I
So
can
we
just,
would have to schedule
mean-
another meeting
right.
for the vote.
Well,
I mean, I can discuss things here. We can all discuss things here, but we just can't take a vote on them.
sure. We just, you know, we have to be a little bit practical. We can't wait 30 days just to keep getting approvals to do like contracts. So I think there's tonight's recording and you're going to explain the contract. And then I think we can the commissioners can vote via email. So then you can conduct your business, Rod. Does that
Right. I
sound
don't,
okay
but I
with
don't
you,
think
Mary?
we can vote by email.
Rod, I just called Charles Newsom. He forgot. He's getting ready to come on in a few minutes.
Okay. That would still leave us too shy.
I can text George. He said he'd be available if we needed quorum. But
Okay.
I can text him.
Go ahead and text him because I don't think I have his cell.
Who is on the call-in number?
Okay,
The
let's leave.
947 number?
This is Gary. Officer Waters. Yeah.
So,
Hi, Gary.
Hello.
okay. Well, let's save the voting items for the end of the meeting. Hopefully we'll have more commissioners and hit quorum. As of now, we don't. Pursuant to the applicable law, in my determination that attendance by remote means is necessary because an in-person meeting is not practical nor prudent due to the declared public health disaster caused by COVID-19. This meeting is conducted via video conference. This meeting is being recorded and it will be posted on the SSA website shortly after this meeting concludes. All right, we can't approve our minutes. Excuse me?
Yeah, I'm just counting commissioners. We have 3 at this point. We have you.
I just joined in,
Eric,
sorry.
and we have Joe. Yeah, right. We have
James Nurse. And I just texted George and then Charles will be on, so that will be a quorum. We just keep going.
Okay. Do we have Isaac Green on the line?
No, we don't have Isaac. I've texted him, but
Okay.
the next, after the minutes, the next one is questions and comments from the guests.
I think you're mistaken time this, or we're not close.
Any guests does any guest have a question or comment? Please raise your hand with the hand tool and we'll recognize you. All these wonderful guests, no questions. Okay. Let's go to programming. We're going to skip financial and return with Isaac. Let's go to the programming committee.
Okay.
Rob, what part can we talk about before we hit quorum?
But let me start with the progress on the program initiatives. And
Great.
okay, what Mary and I did was we asked the commissioners to send us the order of preferences. And I believe I received about 4 responses, but basically it didn't change the order of those preferences for the 5 initiatives. The first one was the viaducts. The second was the Lake Park median. The third was Nichols Park. The fourth was 53rd Street on the eastern and western edges. And the last one was 55th Street, deciding programming from that. Progress on those initiatives. On Thursday morning, Chicago Public Art Group, which is the steward, they're the contact for the artwork that's there. We're going to meet with them and do kind of a walkthrough on the art. We're just in the beginning stages of taking a look and assessing that and trying to go forward with what we can do. And then we will involve some of our other partners, Hyde Park Art Center, some of our others, and then we will try and get together a proposal of options and try to go forward with that. So we expect that work, well, it's going to commence now. We expect to be working on that through the bulk of the year to get some artwork or whatever's decided within both the viaducts on 53rd and 55th Streets. The Lake Park median, I have a proposal from Clarence David. George had sent me that proposal that was done about 5 years ago. I've asked him to submit another proposal. I need to go through that and talk that through them before we have something final to present before the commissioners. I'd like to try and do that through the program committee. And then we hash that out. And then on the next commissioners meeting, we vote on that. Nichols Park, I've been in touch with Nichols Park. They've had a couple of meetings and they're beginning to work on the lilacs. They're looking at some of the things in the park as a whole. There's going to be tree trimming, I believe, this weekend. I've asked them to come up with a proposal and a work plan. I've also reminded them there are, several ways to get money from the SSA. One, we can't fund anything outside the SSA. So if they're looking to have something sponsored in the way that we do 4th on 53rd, if they are looking to do something specifically with the landscaping, they can go through a landscaping company and send an invoice. There are a number of ways they can do this, but it starts with a plan, something that we can present to all of you all as commissioners, and you approve that, and then we go forward. But they are working on it. They've gotten a committee together, and they've got members on that committee. Some of this they'll want to do by hand, others that, they'll seek assistance from us. 53rd Street, I met with Charles Newsom about 3 weeks ago. And we discussed some of the things that we can do. Mainly some of that is landscaping around the public areas. So we're looking at Woodlawn and 53rd Street. There's some work that they want to do internally with the parking lot and other things. But Charles and I had a very good discussion on that. We need to define some goals for 55th Street. Some programming things that we would want to do with that. So that's the only one that doesn't have direct attention at this point, but we've made progress. We've talked to partners and other people for the other 4 projects. So when I have more concrete discussions and can present something, I'll be presenting that to the commissioners. Any questions on those?
Rod, we also have the east end of 53rd Street that we need to get something together for.
Right. We need to have more concrete discussions on that, something that we can present so that the commissioners can look at and evaluate it and take an action on that. I do thank you, Mary, as well as you, Greg, for kind of spearheading some of the goals for that. I think each part of these, and I mentioned Charles earlier, each one of these needs a commissioner that's there to pay special attention to that. James, if you're still on the call, you and I have to meet. I'm going to draft you for 55th Street, if you don't mind. So I think once we start to, have these discussions and get, some concrete proposals in place, that's something that you as commissioners can take action on. and we can begin to spend some of this money that we have to spend by the end of the year. Any questions on any of that? Okay, the next programming committee meeting will be the, boy, do I have the wrong date on this one. But the next meeting for the programming committee should be the 4th. It's the first Tuesday of the month. It's at 10 o'clock and it'll be by Zoom. So I'll be sending out a link. I'll send out an agenda for that. And anyone, commissioners, SECC board members, members of the public are invited.
Great. Thank you, Rod. Is there anything else to add from programming? Nope. Shall we go to the finance committee? Thank you, Isaac, for sharing.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Good evening to everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. So you have your financial report as of February 28th, 2023 and 2022. Total cash in the bank at $119,378 compared to $49,262. And we know that's all due to receiving our tax deposits on December 30th of 2022. Accounts receivable, $221,000 compared to $294. So total assets are $341,341 compared to $343,738 in 2022. Liabilities, accounts payable, $8,379 compared to $13,188. Deferred revenue, $272,688. It's the same. So as we get ready to do the audit, that number will change. Due to SECC, so there's just 2 months of administrative costs that need to be reimbursed to the administrator of $11,872 compared to $15,581. So total liabilities, $292,940 compared to $301,456. Net assets, your temporary restricted, $69,528 compared to $65,375. Net surplus. So because we have not received any new tax dollars in the year, all of our expenses exceed our revenue. So that's a shortfall of $21,127. Same thing last year, $23,094. So total net assets is at $48,401 compared to $42,281. So total liabilities and net assets at $341,341 compared to $343,738. Any questions with the statement of financial positions, the assets or liabilities before we go to budget versus actual?
Isaac, the due to SECC, that was cut last week.
Okay, but as of February 28th, that's what it was. So that's the selection. Okay, thank you, Ramon. All righty, so budget versus actual. Let me kind of enlarge this a little bit. All righty, so as I said, no new tax dollars for the year. But so expenses, 1.0, customer attraction, website, social media. So total of $1,500 for the first 2 months. You're at $3,000 compared to a budget of $14,924. 2.0, garbage removal, $2,762 for the year, $5,524, with a total budget of $25,750 for the first 2 months. Nothing for 3.0, 4.0, or 5.0. 6.0, management, bookkeeping, rent, equipment lease, and commissioners meeting. So total of $1,053 compared to $1,498 for the year, $1,982 compared to $2,995. Personnel.
Isaac, do you mind just locking the top bar so we can see the headers?
Yes, sir. Give me 1 second. And I was reminded that by my good friend last time.
I saw Roger hop on this call and I thought, We should lock the headers.
Yes, 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 he did say that, all right?
It's on the view menu. Look under view. And it's your freeze panes.
Let's see.
Over to your right. Over to other right. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, there you go.
Learn something new all the time. So thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All right, much better there. Okay. All right, so coming down to our personnel. There we go. So for the manager, 4,894 for the support, 417, total 5,311. So total expenses, 10,626 for the month. And we go over here for the year to date is 21,128. And that's just due to not receiving tax revenues. And that's normal for the SSA. You should start seeing some come in the month of March. So we reconcile March. We may see some straddle in. And I think Rod said that they were late on sending out invoices or requests. So maybe April, May, we start to see tax deposits come in.
Right, Isaac, yeah, I believe the due date is like the 3rd or the 4th of April. We did speak with the city as people pay their taxes, they do weekly sweeps. So as people pay their taxes, we should start to see revenue come in prior to the final due date. So I'm hoping that we see that and subsequent deposits into our account.
All right, so based upon Rod's comments on the due date of early April, then you start seeing something straddle in late April, but it probably May, June, when we'll see a sufficient amount of tax revenues coming in. The organization, the blessing is that you had huge tax deposits come in at the end of December. So from a liquidity standpoint, SSA is in a good position. And that concludes. Any other questions for the statement of budget versus actual?
Thank you, Isaac.
No problem.
George, I know you weren't prepared to make this meeting. Do you want to talk about your tracker, or would you like me to pull it up?
I've got it. It's fine. I can just get to it. So this is really the same numbers as Isaac reports. There's nothing out of the ordinary in the budget tracker. It's just a different way of looking at it. And at least in my way of thinking, it's sort of a less technical, simpler way for those of us who aren't, financially smart, me. So the most important part is the bottom line in the budget tracker, and Isaac's bottom line is the same, we're exactly where we ought to be. The budget tracker looks at it, a little bit of it in a slightly different light, even though we have not received any tax deposits from the city for this fiscal year. We have been receiving deposits, and that's in this orange box, gold box off to the side, where you see this list labeled late collections. These are actually 2022 taxes that are being deposited in 2023. And if you look at where we began the year, which was with 92,000 in the bank account on January 1st, we've added to that to the point where the late collection added to that comes out to 164,000. So there's been 72,000 in additional deposits this year. This is, of course, deposits late for last year. It's not deposits for the current year. So these are our late collections. So that our year-to-date total is 164 out of our budget of 490, which is a third of the budget. And of course, we haven't even begun to collect our real budget yet. So these numbers will change drastically in the next couple of months. We certainly hope so and expect so. The categories are the same as what Isaac presented. The numbers are the same. And when we get down to the bottom line, 21,127, we're off $1. That's rounding of cents adjustments. Isaac had 21,128. So it's those 0.66s that add up over time, so that we come out to have the same numbers. And of our actual plan for budget, that's only 4%. So again, this is a number that we hope and expect will be changing rather drastically in the next few months. So it will be nice to be back to being in business and spending money on projects once again. Are there any questions I could answer for anyone?
And just to add to George's comments in regards to the deposits we received in January, but that's not reflected on the normal PL because that reduces our accounts receivable on the balance sheet. So that's how we kind of reconciled it. So those deposits, they have been accounted for. They just reduced our receivables that we had outstanding with the city at the end of last year.
Thank you all.
Thank you, George. I believe we are one commissioner short from a quorum, so we're gonna have to.
No, we are at quorum.
Greg,
We have 5. Charles is on now at 5.
Charles.
Hello, everyone. I'm on board. Jeepers. Took a while, but I'm here. How's
Thank you.
everyone?
Great. Now that you're here, we are good. Consent approval is sufficient for the financials. Since there were no questions, if there are no objections, the financial reports are going to be accepted as circulated. Are there any corrections to make? No. Okay, thank you. What is next in our agenda? Rod, reconstitution?
Okay, can we go back up since we've got a quorum? If we can go to the minutes?
Absolutely. Also consent approval is sufficient. Are there any changes or modifications to the minutes that were emailed ahead of the meeting? Okay, since there are no objections, the minutes are accepted as circulated. Thank you. All right, Rod, now you're on. Let's hear about reconstitution.
Okay, well, there are a couple of items that I want to go back to. I want to finish the
Okay.
financials. And then since we have the quorum, we can approve the contracts. So I'll just take those in order and then we go to reconstitution. The last line item on the financials that I have is now through May 1st. We're going to be working on the draft for the 2024 work plan. That's due to DPD or the Department of Planning and Development on June 3rd. But now is the time to begin to work on 2024 budget. Going to the programming committee, we have 4 contracts, 2 from Clarence Davids, 1 from Advance Clean Pro, and the other for Clean Slate. What I've asked our current vendors to do, since this is a reconstitution year and our SSA ends at the end of the year, we asked them to extend their contracts and to fill out the end of the year. So I presented to you as commissioners contracts for Clarence Davids for $23,850 and again for $11,880. Those contracts are for the planners, the planning, and then the maintenance of that. Do I need to pull those up for review, or as commissioners, have you all taken a sufficient enough look at them and we're willing to take a vote to approve those contracts?
Could you tell us how much we paid for the same service last year? Are these rates the same rates?
I would say these rates are higher. I don't have what we paid last year. But these rates are higher because inflation has hit everyone, which is why I asked them to rebid those with the current prices. Is that something you need now? Because I don't have those figures available.
Personally, that would be nice. Let's hear from the commissioners. What do you guys think? Do you want more information about these contracts? Are you comfortable? I'm not getting much feedback.
I'm comfortable with these contracts. Clarence David's is expensive. They've always been expensive, and I'm sure they have not gotten any cheaper over the years, but they do really marvelous work. I mean, they do really good work. I think they're painstaking, and they provide a quality service. And since we have to spend the money, I guess I will move that we go ahead and approve the contracts.
Now, are you talking just about the Clarence David's contracts or all of them? Okay.
Just the
I-
Clarence David's
Just,
at this point.
I'll second that.
Just second that. Well, let's quick debate about the contracts. Does anyone have anything to add about the contracts or questions or concerns?
I would think that Clarence Davis is not a stranger to us in doing business in Hyde Park. We had contract with them before. I would be in favor of voting that we approve the contracts.
One thing I might add is these are the same exact contracts from our previous ones. And the only thing they did was change the pricing. I asked them to do the same ones, and these are extensions basically.
And George is correct. They are expensive, but they back up what they do pretty good work.
Is it a significant price change? I know you said you don't have the numbers, but was it a significant price change?
I don't think it was significant. Maybe on the order of a few $1,000s. I can't say for sure. What I will do is I'll get those numbers and send them to all the commissioners.
I would not just look at the dollars. I would also look to make sure they are offering us what we had before and no less. Because if the price has gone up, we don't want the quantity to go down. And if anybody bought a box of Girl Scout cookies this year, they would have noticed that. Box size went down. But that's, in all seriousness, you should check that out.
Okay.
Rod, can you confirm that the services they bid for are the exact same services as last year?
Yeah, I can confirm that, just not tonight. So I'll go through each contract. I can do that for all the vendors line by line. But yeah, I passed the contracts and said basically change the numbers for inflation. I mean, we knew that we were going to get hit with higher costs. So they should be the same.
Well,
so should we change the motion to be approved based on the contracts are the same?
I would not recommend that, because if there is a significant change, we're going to have to, let's have all the information that you all are asking for before we do that. What that's going to mean is probably another meeting in the very near future. So if we can get a quorum of commissioners to come through, and clearly that's going to have to be another public meeting. We can get the quorum of the commissioners to come and vote on that. You'll have all the information, and we can make that a very short meeting. We'll have, this is what it looked like, this is what it is, these are the price changes, and then we can vote on that and get those started as soon as possible.
I'm not a commissioner, but the dollar amount has been budgeted properly, correct, and approved by the commissioners?
Yes, it's all within the budgeted categories.
I would think that's the more important issue that should be discussed.
Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Well, George, you made the motion. Do you want to take Rod's advice and withdraw your motion, or do you want to proceed ahead for a vote?
I think it's perfectly fine to table the motion until we get clarification.
Okay.
I'm
So,
checking through
Rod-
my records right now to see if I can find the Clarence David's contract from a prior year, just so we can compare with it.
Yeah.
I'll-
Okay, we'll table this one then.
Okay. Well, let's just go I mean, if that's the case, then I'll just do it for all of them. Because we'll
Okay.
have the same discussion for the next two.
Okay.
Okay.
I have a question then before we get off the contracts. About the clean slate contract. It's for the power washing. Is there, how are we going to handle the fact that we wanted to increase the number of washings under the viaducts? Does that have to be a separate RFP?
No, because it's an additional cleaning.
So
I
could
didn't see
we
it
add,
as a separate RFP. Once we go through a separate RFP, we have to put it out to bid for all of them.
can
I
we
mean,
add
yeah.
on to the clean slate contract then before we approve it?
Right, for the viaducts, the power washing is under a different company. It's not under Clean Slate. It's under Advanced Clean Pro, excuse me. But yeah, our sidewalk power washing company is different than Clean Slate.
Okay. Then can we add it on to the Clean Pearl, the power washing contract?
Yes. I'll go through all of them. That one will be different. Because we're looking at the additional one.
Do you want to do it as two separate contracts so we don't have to wait for them to rebid? I mean, if you're looking for a quick vote on this.
But I originally did it as a separate contract. What happened in the finance meeting last week was we talked about that. And the separate contract for just the viaducts, that's still a separate contract. I haven't presented it. But we also moved up the dates for the power washing. They usually start in June. And at the finance meeting, you and George discussed getting it done as soon as possible. I spoke with the contractor and they said they could be ready to go as early as mid-April.
Great. Well, okay, so you're going to set up another vote on these contracts. You're going to come back to us and say you've gone through the contracts and you're really comfortable and you think we should proceed, and you're going to be able to see if there's any differences between this year and last year, prices or terms.
Right, I will go through each contract line by line and I will go through the differences between them. I will definitely highlight the price because I knew that was going to be different. And other than price and dates, I will go through them to make sure that the contracts are what's acceptable to us as an SSA commissioner and program manager. And what I'll do is try and come back with a meeting, hopefully the first, because Diane and I are going to be at a conference. If we can't squeeze it in sometime next week, we'll try and do this very early in April.
Okay, sooner we do it, the better.
Another provision is if we wanted to add this on to the program committee meeting, I mean, we have a quorum there. we can take the vote in early April. Yeah, because many of you all have been attending the programming committee meeting, and we've gotten a quorum of commissioners over the past couple of meetings there.
That sounds like a good idea to me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Do other commissioners have an opinion on that?
It would
I
need
was
to be.
gonna
a quorum.
suggest, yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mary.
well, I was gonna say, I was gonna suggest the same thing, that we tack it on to the program committee meeting if there is a quorum.
Mhm.
Right.
And that's April 4th.
And
Right.
that is, of course, a quorum of the entire body, not a quorum of the committee. So I
Right.
believe there are 9 commissioners at the moment, so we would need to have 5 present and voting.
Yep.
Yeah, that's correct. But it's not so much. I mean, a quorum of the committee is roughly 1. A quorum
Right.
of the commissioners is about 5, which is, or at least, what was the term you used, George? A majority of a quorum?
Majority of a quorum. A majority of a
Right.
quorum is 3.
Right. And a quorum is 5. We've been getting 5 commissioners. It would negate the need to call a special meeting. So we already have a meeting. We're very close to getting a quorum, and we can make it a part of the program committee meeting. And we invite the public, we invite guests, so it's cleaner that way as opposed to just having another meeting that we would have. So we just make it part of the programming committee meeting.
And this is April 4th.
Be April the 4th at 10:00 a.m. via Zoom.
But that's going to be a busy day, right? Election day, tax day, and the SSA day. That's a good day.
Every day is a busy day.
Right.
We just have to pick our poison.
We could do it.
Okay, we'll just tack that on. Okay, any more questions on that before I go on the reconstitution?
So we will send out a calendar invite to the full commissioners for that date.
Right, we'll treat
Just
it
want to make
like,
sure everyone knows that. It will come with the Zoom link and all of the details.
we'll treat it as if it were another commissioners meeting. So the email that you got for this meeting, you'll get the same one. It'll just, it'll also include the program committee business.
And then we still have the other one on April 13th. Is that correct?
April 13th is the reconstitution committee meeting.
Okay.
Right. That's not a commissioners meeting. That's an SECC meeting. So. All right. And moving on to, thank you, Joyce, for that lead in. Moving on to reconstitution. I just want to present the highlights of that meeting. We met on March 16th, which was Thursday of last week. There were 2 presentations. There was one by the city. The Department of Planning and Development always likes to present at these meetings more or less the overall what is an SSA. And they do that very well. They have a slide deck. If anyone is interested in it, I can send that out. We also had a presentation and discussion of our consultant, Tesca Associates. And what they did was they presented some of the data, some of the scenarios of some of the options we asked in terms of our configuration and our services of the SSA. We elected, and we're glad to see him here. Mike McGarry is our chairperson of the Reconstitution Committee. And so many accolades were sung to him during that time. And the last thing is our next meeting, Joyce, as you mentioned, 4/13, it's a Thursday. At that meeting, we're going to decide on the boundaries. We're going to decide how we want to present the SSA to the public. After that, we will have 2 meetings, hopefully within the April and May timeframe, because we have to have our first pass of the application in June 9th. So those are the things that are coming up. Is there any questions regarding reconstitution?
Just clarification for my own information, are the 2 community meetings in person or virtual?
We will finalize that, but the current plans is one will be in person and one will be virtual. They should be the same meeting. So we're trying to advertise to as much of the business community, the property owner community, and the community at large. And we're presenting the case based off of the Reconstitution Committee meetings we're having now for the reconstitution going forward. Okay. Any other questions?
I'd just like to also add that when Rod submits the application in June, we will have had 20% of the footprint vote or sign a petition that they're supporting.
The minimum is 10% at that point. August 1st, I believe, is when 20% is required. The Department of Planning and Development won't consider it in the June date unless 10% of the property owners of record within the footprint we present, they won't consider it with less than 10%. And then we have that time to get another 10%. Our goal is somewhere north of 50. That's what we got 10 years ago. So we're still shooting for that goal. Any other questions, comments? Greg?
Okay, Chairman update. I think I wanted you guys just to hear it from me. So Mac Properties owns apartments all around Hyde Park. The properties that are east of the viaduct has asked the Reconstitution Committee, they've conveyed to the Reconstitution Committee that they do not want to continue to participate in the next SSA. The properties west of the viaducts still want to be in it. So thought you guys should know that's the position, Matt, that's the position my employer took. Any questions about it? Or, okay, great.
I do have a question.
Mhm.
There are other properties beside Mac properties that are east of the viaducts. Are you speaking for Mac or are you speaking for all of the properties when you
No.
say that?
I'm just speaking for Mac.
Okay.
And my question is, if your property is not included in the SSA, does that mean that the properties east of there on the same side of the street cannot participate?
Let me answer the question this way. There has to be continuity between the properties. So if there is another property, let's say on one side of the street, there is a Mac property that's right there, then the other properties on the other side of that Mac property can't participate in that. But if there are
which direction? Are you talking about on the north and south sides of the street, or are you talking about going east?
My understanding is they're talking about going east. So any properties that are east of Mac on 53rd, and this is on the south side, 53rd on the north side and 55th on the south side, any properties east of Mac on that same side of the street will not be part of the SSA configuration.
They're not, it's not decided upon yet.
Right.
On behalf of the advisory committee, they will make those decisions, and that is one of the options that will be presented.
Right. and as Diane has said, basically that's Mac's position at this point. As a committee, we are still meeting. We have another meeting, and that next meeting in April on the 13th is the one where we will, as a committee, make that final determination before we present it to the public.
One of the things we discussed is presenting several options to the committee so they can decide which ones they think is best.
Greg, is that property, do you know about what percentage of that property that is included?
I don't know. My guess is 20%, 25%, but I requested the information from our reconstitution consultant, and I don't have that yet. Mike, as newly elected chairman of that reconstitution committee, do you want anything that you want to say about reconstitution to this group while you all have us?
No, just that it is in process, that as we following a lot of the same processes we did when we originally set it up 10 years ago, which is looking at various maps, looking at the financial impact of what it means to the SSA as far as a budget, and is that budget sufficient in order to accomplish the goals of the SSA? We're just really starting down the process. We're just starting to really get the meat of it. With the consultant making his report at our last meeting. But at this point, there's been no decisions made on maps or anything. No decisions on maps, no decisions on tax rates, and no decision on tax caps at this point. We're still getting our ducks in a row, if you will, so we can make a formal presentation to the community.
Okay, questions and comments from commissioners about anything we've discussed or not discussed tonight? Non-commissioners?
Guests would like to know if they can make a comment.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Who? Please.
She just sent it to me, Sandra Bivens, who's one of our board members.
Mm-hmm.
Sandra, go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I just reconstituted our SSA number 52. Basically, the process is not as difficult as you would think, because you're really going to go back to your original draft of what you want to do as an SSA, and you're really updating it. Now, you are going to hire a consultant to help you do it, which I have given Diane and Rod some suggestions of some people who have been suggested to us through DPD, and they have done an excellent job. So
Sandra, we already have our consultant.
Okay, well, basically, it's not going to be as difficult as just pulling the information together and following the same process and updating your SSA application, more or less. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you for your input. Anyone else have anything before I turn back to Greg? Thank you.
All right, well, if there is no further business and there is no objection, the meeting will be adjourned. All right, there being no objection, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you guys very much for sticking around tonight.
Bye, thank you all so much. Have a beautiful night.
Thank you.
Have a good evening,
Happy
everyone.
spring.